Okay, welcome. This is our second meeting for CodePath at TCU's Intro to Programming course, and this is our office hour session or assignment working session, where we are working on building a personal website using HTML and CSS only. So I'm going to be guiding our students through all the steps of the assignment and answering questions along the way, so that we can all learn to use HTML and CSS only to build our personal website in a relatively short time. So let me share my screen and begin. Right. So overview first. In this project, you will create a personal website for yourself using HTML and CSS. A personal website is a great way to for you to introduce yourself and showcase your work to future employers. My personal website, I usually actually prefer to show it, and then my LinkedIn or my maybe my LinkedIn as well, or my resume. Because as a software engineer, you really want your future employer to know and see what you're capable of doing, right? Instead of just words on the paper. So after finishing your website, I encourage you all to keep your website up to date with any new projects that you create, and refine your website as you continue to build on your full stack development skills throughout this course and beyond. So the objectives is for you to be able to describe the fundamental structures of a web page and how you can create a web page by using HTML and CSS only, and for you to create and apply CSS rule sets to style the font, color, and positioning of HTML elements using elements, ID, and class selectors. So as an assignment for the personal website, I want you to kind of have a guideline for what to put there, right? So at least 3 defined sections. The main header is kind of supposed to be where there's like a headline kind of thing, which is just these basically. Yeah, that's what I refer to when I was designing these instructions. But I kind of confused myself and thought I was meaning these, but this is a nav bar. The nav bar is definitely not required. It's just I want you to have your name, your picture, something like that, and that's it. And then at first I suggested people to create a portfolio section, and I realized that it's probably better for people to just add a contact info, since not a lot of people have projects to show anyways. So you're gonna have like a main header, biography, and then contact info. That will be the bare minimum for this personal website. And you don't have to have these icons either. You can add your email, phone number, and add a maybe background color to the section, and that'll be it. So you also want to use CSS to style background colors, to style your images, such as having your images look the way you want, with either rounded corners or the specific positioning, and style the text in the ways that you want, such as fonts and font color and size. And then the positioning is the final thing. Positioning can sometimes be the most difficult thing, because it might take a while for you to get used to how the box model works and how flex boxes work. And it's also possible for you to use a grid to show your projects, right? Because you can definitely be looking like a grid. For now, it is looking like a grid for mine, but I actually used flex boxes. And the reason why I don't use a grid is because I personally think it's easier to manage, especially for responsiveness. And that is one thing that I didn't mention during class last time. A very important idea in web dev is responsiveness, which is just the idea that when you create a web page, you should kind of be aware and intentional about how everything looks when you are changing the basically the size of the web page. So I think for this part, I kind of made it so that when I look at it on my phone, it looks kind of like this, right? So with a grid, it's also doable, but I just didn't really like how it was to set it up. How it was to set it up. I tried to use a grid, but for me personally, it's always harder. And you can just look at and you can just kind of make these this way and then resize it to kind of see how everything works together when you are resizing things. Oh, what is it? Yeah, especially just this section, right? When you use a flexbox, I think when you use a grid, you can also make it appear this way. But I personally just prefer flexbox for just a couple of different reasons. And you're definitely welcome to check out the video right here in the optional reading list. I think I also didn't tell people about the optional reading list, so a lot of people probably skipped over it. You can definitely watch this video and then just try to use a grid. It's totally up to you. Grid is useful for very simple grid stuff. In my experience, when you're trying to take care of responsiveness with things that might get a little complicated, for example, you want to make sure there is an exact gap in between your stuff. For me personally, it's just very hard for me, but I'm sure it's doable. So you can do either way. But the portfolio section is not required, so most of you don't have to worry about that. And for your assignment, there's a couple of stretch features, and by stretch features, it just means that you can complete basically this whole website and have it, look practical and great without doing all of this. But if you do this, it's definitely great for you. Even my portfolio website, I didn't add experiences. I didn't think that was really necessary, but I might in the future. Your portfolio, now it's just additional, and skills as well. I added my skills, which is just the same things that I have on LinkedIn as well. And the navigation bar, I think I talked about that last time when I was trying to showcase the header. Navigation bar is very simple. If you click it, it just takes you to that particular section. It's definitely not necessary, right? But it's just kind of a little bit of nice addition. And social media handles, this link shows how I kind of added all of this stuff. They're just little images basically, and they are wrapped inside. See, if you take a look at this one, right? This is a little image. This right here is an image that's wrapped inside an A tag. So I probably didn't mention it last time, but you can wrap anything inside an A tag and make that whole thing a link, right? An image can be a link that you can link to. You can just go to my GitHub, or you can make an entire just a project card that we have right here. It's basically just, where's all the elements? Okay. Like I have a project list, and then say this one, right? This whole thing is wrapped inside an A tag, and then there's a div, and then there's all this. So you can wrap it all inside an A tag. So you can click on any part of this, and it takes you to my personal website because it's recursive, right? And this one, click on it, goes to GitHub. All right. So you can also add anything you want, right? Anything you can imagine. For example, you have so many projects, you need the search bar for your project. Great, perfect. Do whatever you want and just make it great, cool, awesome as much as you can. here's a couple of resources. I don't know if people go through it, but these are great resources. You can just kind of expand it and then see, maybe go through them if you want, if you have the time, but you can just check out whatever you're interested in forever. For example, Google Fonts is great. I should have went through it. I did want to go through it quickly last time, but I think I forgot. For example, if you want to use a Google fonts that you like I don't know, say this one, Roberto, Mono. Oh, you can just I think oh, this doesn't look the same as when I saw it last time. It looks very different. The interface looks very different. Oh, this is, I don't know why they have this at the top. So suppose you like this font, right? And then there's a lot of different exact, like specific ones of these fonts. Usually just like whether it's thin, regular, or bold, right? Bold text. So suppose you want to get like the regular text, right? You can just add this. Click. So it will go into a list of fonts that you chose, right? I already chose this. So I can remove all, remove, and then if I get this right, it will give me this a link that I can take, and I can basically just add this into my HTML file in the header, and then it'll be connected to what I have, which is these fonts.googleapis.com, and then give you all of these available. And then within your CSS file, you can just use this to make these fonts available and then define it onto your text. So this is cool. There's a lot of cool fonts that you can check out. CSS cheat sheet. It's a nice little thing for you to also just kind of see what are all the properties available for you to choose, because that's one thing, right? You may have an idea of styling something a certain way, but you never really know what are all the properties available. So what's important for you is to be able to kind of figure that out, right? How to make something collapse, how to make something separate. Border radius is what you use to make something have rounded corners. So just kind of have a way to find out how to make certain things work, even if you have no idea what's the exact property to begin with. You can always switch it up. All right, so now finally we're gonna get started on the actual project, and first we're just gonna set it up with your GitHub first, because GitHub is what you're gonna use first of all to keep all of your code, all of your projects, and then finally deploy, in our case, deploy your web page using GitHub Pages. So you need a GitHub account if you don't already have one. And if you already have one, you can just use that, don't worry about it. And if you don't have VS Code already, you need to install VS Code, download it, and then it's pretty easy to set up. Keep everything at default settings. And if you do not have Git, you need to get Git and just download it. And then I think it's pretty much just, you know, default settings for everything, and then it'll just work for you. So create a GitHub account if you don't already have one. I have one. So I'm just gonna assume everybody can go through that step on their own. And then we'll create a new repository for our project. So for me, I already have a personal website, but I'm gonna create another one called personal website as well, and with an underscore. I recommend you to use a dash for your project names, because personal website. Because that's a little bit the convention, and by convention it just means that is what people usually do. There's not necessarily that's not necessarily a rule, but people just tend to do that, and then just keeps things consistent, right? So I'm gonna just name it personal website. You can add a description, personal website, but it's very simple. And for these, I'm gonna just make it keep it public. Should be fine. and add a README file as well. The README file is where you can write long descriptions for your project. It's very useful for people to you know, kind of get a good idea of what your project is, because if you're a software engineer and you kind of look at a lot of projects, a lot of repositories, you'll realize that a lot of repositories don't have Git README files to explain what that project even is. So even though you can look through the code, you won't really know like what exactly it does, how it was done, or any I don't know, I guess issues currently existing with the code. So this is just a file for you for software engineers to kind of basically like do a very clear explanation of what you're looking at. And at the end, when you deploy your web page, I want you to add the link to your web page into the README file, so that when people look at your repository, they will just see that link and they can look at your personal website. And then that should be all. Then we can just go ahead and create repository. So now this is what you have, just an empty repository with the README file that shows up as soon as you enter this page, looking at your project. So now, once we have created that, you want to clone your repository to your local machine, right? Which is just your computer. Click this on the right side of this page right here, and then you can just click open with GitHub Desktop. And I just told you guys to do this, even though I assume most of you don't have this, because it just tells you to, if you don't already have it, it will already tell you to download GitHub Desktop as well. So GitHub Desktop is like right here. If you don't have GitHub Desktop, just download it real quick. And is my personal preferred way of managing all the cloning and branching and committing. It's very easily it's a visual way of doing all of these things, instead of having to use like a command prompt to do everything, and then you have to memorize a lot of commands. A lot of times you kind of forget and you have to look it up. And if you're pretty familiar with it, then it wouldn't be a problem. But a lot of times when there are certain issues with conflicts, it takes a lot of effort to also figure it all out. And I think the most valuable part of using GitHub Desktop is it's always easier to deal with random issues with source control, which is just managing your code and connecting to GitHub and keeping your code and committing and reverting, all that. For me, this is the easier way. So once you have GitHub Desktop downloaded, installed, you should be led to this page.
Where do we go to download this? Sorry.
If you click here, right, open with GitHub Desktop, and it would probably tell you this.
Mine just shows home for all developers, including you, and then start writing with code.
Okay. How about you share your screen for a second? Okay. All right. Did you just create your account?
Yes. That's kind of what I was behind, is because I was trying to get an account name.
You just want to go ahead and create repository. Yep. Personal website with a dash in the middle. All lowercase is good. Okay. Personal website, add a README file, and then you can create repository.
Private?
Public, so that people can see it, right?
Add a README. All that stuff's good.
You didn't add a README. Yep.
All right, good.
And yep. And then it should be there. Okay, great. And now if you click code, just click open with GitHub Desktop. Since you don't have it, it will lead you there, and then download it, and you should be fine.
All right.
All right. So once you're taken there, we can move on to the next step, which is cloning your repository. And what that means is that your repository, which is empty, right? It represents like a project folder, right? And this project folder is just gonna go onto your computer for you to keep track of everything. And then once you first clone it, all there's gonna be is just this little file, right? Which is just this stuff, nothing much. So we just go ahead and clone that. And now you can look at this current repository and it shows you where you're at. And there's no changes, but you can also, I guess, show in Explorer. And it just shows that in like a GitHub folder, you have this new thing and all it has is the README. Any questions so far? Okay. So now we just open in Visual Studio Code. If you already have it installed, then it should just open up, right? So now you're looking at your personal website.
Okay. How'd you get into the Visual Studio? What'd you click?
Opening Visual Studio Code.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, there we go.
Awesome. So once you finish this, you're ready to get started. Now, step 2 is to set up the building blocks for your web page. And there's also CodePath guide, and it's I think it's open to the public. I don't know if I can have access to it because I signed in. Actually, I think I can just check. Yeah, it's open to the public. You can just check it out. There's all these the most fundamental stuff about CSS that you can always check out. So from here, you create a new file and name it index.html. So let's do that. Create a new file called index.html. And now you can see that it has this little icon here that you wouldn't have before, because it recognizes that it is an HTML file because of the extension at the end. So now we have this. We can initialize your file with exclamation mark. That is an image abbreviation to help you create the very basic, I guess, structure for an HTML page, which is doc type HTML, HTML tag, and closing everything, and then a head and a body, right? So I want you to, from here, I want you to also make sure that you install the live preview VS Code extension. So if you click here, also make sure you have the course portal up. I think you can just click install right here. Okay. Just continue if you already have it, and then opening VS Code, and it just takes you there. Live preview. Let's install that. Okay. So you can go through all of this a little bit, which is just kind of how it looks, how it works. What's your HTML code over here? You can use it to display that on like in a side-by-side mode to see what you have. You can also just open it up from the Explorer, which is what's on the left panel. And then what I usually do is external browser previewing, which is just that for whatever file you have, you can open up a separate browser like Chrome, use Chrome to look at it. And I think it's better because it will actually show you what your website would look like if you were to just look at it normally, right? Once it's already deployed. And at that point, you can still look at it side by side, but I prefer to just look at it with full screen so that you can get a good idea of what it looks like in the end. So once you have that installed, I just want you to write one line of code so that you can test it. First, we're just gonna create a H1, right? And do hello world exclamation mark, right? This is the first line of code that most programmers write because there's a long history behind these two words. You can look it up later. So once you have that, also you can see that as I saved my code, there was a white circle right here. I just did Control S to save it, and it did a little thing where it kind of restructured a little bit, right? There is a little indentation. It's because I have another extension installed called Prettier. I already have this installed and set up so that every time I save my code, it's just going to organize itself. A lot of times, when you write a lot of code, it gets a little messy. And also you want indentation for you to kind of understand the structure, right? This encloses this, so this is indented. If you didn't have that, it would actually be a little hard to look at all the stuff that you have, right? When you have indentation, it's easier to see. So this code formatter, you can also find it and install it. And then if you go to settings, it will show you, I think down here, or you can just search oh, format unsafe, right? The editor, if you select format unsafe, then every time you do like a Control S or Command S, if you're on Mac, every time you save the file, it's just going to format your code for you, which is very convenient. All right, so once you have this, you can go up, and also there's hotkeys that you can use for navigating this panel. Control Shift E brings you to the Explorer or Command. And then Control Shift X or Command Shift X brings you to the extensions marketplace. And also you can just basically use all these tabs to manage how the look goes. There's also different things, Explorer, extensions. All right, so once you go back to the Explorer, you can right click on this and then open with not live server. We're not using live server for now. Let me get rid of that too. I personally don't like live server because I think live preview is a lot easier to use. You can show preview. Yep. So now your code just shows up. This is your HTML page, everything that you have right here in the body. And I think you can also, let me see. Still showing live server. To have it show up in an external browser, I think you need to do this. You need to do Control Shift P or Command Shift P, and then select the external browser. Then it shows up, right? Just like an actual web page. And this is all you have, an H1. And an H1 comes with a little default margin padding, as you can see. If you select these right here, right? It by default has a little margin at the top, margin at the bottom, and then also a little bit of I guess. Oh, this is padding on the top, padding on the bottom, right? That's how it shows, and you can see that right here in this computed property, there's padding. No, not padding. Oh, that's margin. That's margin. Yeah. Oh, it looks like padding because there is also this little space. If you look at it, I don't think there's space over here. It's just like that. The H1 tag.
Mine goes all the way around.
What, all the way around?
Like the yellow.
The yellow to the end, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's supposed to, because the H1 tag, it's what is it called? It's a block display, something like that. Either way, what it makes is it just takes up all the space available from left to right, and that's good. So now we have all that. Let's actually get into the coding of your website. But first, also create another file called style.css. We can go through these real quick. So you can always go into this video, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. What you want to do is create a new file, right? Just code style.css. Okay, style.css. If you're not in the Explorer, Command Shift E or Command Shift E will help you do it. And when you use live preview, it runs the server so that you can actually open up your Chrome and go to it. right? You can just, I guess, control click that. It opens up Chrome to look at this. And for now, you can get rid of this. So create a new file called style.css. And as you can see, there's a little icon here that denotes this is a CSS file. So once you have that, let's see. Once you have that, you want to link it to your HTML file with this syntax link. And that's also an image abbreviation. When you click link, it just gives you all of this. And then the href is where you put the name of this file so that your HTML file can find your style.css file. And then the two will be connected. This way, whatever HTML code you have, you can refer to it in the styles.css file with your CSS rules. And then you'll be able to style your HTML elements. So I think that should be it. Very simple. That's just a little demo. So let's do that as well. Over here in your head, somewhere in there, I think he did it in the middle. Doesn't matter at all. You can just type link, href, style.css. Okay. And then you'll be able to see that suppose you write a CSS rule, and also make sure you save it. When there's a yellow white circle, that means you haven't saved it, and you wouldn't reflect when you preview it. So once you have all this, you can have this HTML element to manipulate, right? You can do h1 color red, and then I'm going to do Control-Shift-P to view in. Oh, it's already, the server's already started, so you don't have to do it after that. So if you go back to Chrome, and then I guess this address is already being used, so you can just go back to it. If you have it running, go to your personal website. Let me see what's going on. Show preview, I guess it stopped. Show preview. Oh, now you have it. Yes, you can copy this. I think it was running on a different port because there's your IP and then the port. There we go. So great. Now that we know the CSS file and the HTML file are connected, we can move on from there. And Lauren, thanks for joining us. You can just go through the steps from the top, from the very first step, create a GitHub account if you don't have it, and then follow along to catch up. So now you have all of these linked CSS file. We can actually start building. So this video, I added this to kind of give you an idea of the difference between divs and spans. Spans are not used very frequently. It's usually divs, but I wanted to add it there to give you an idea of how we can group HTML elements together. Because we can always add, h1, h2, all that, have a lot of different things. But when it gets like a lot, right? When there's a lot of stuff, when there's a lot of HTML elements that we have, it's always a greater idea that we group them together somehow, so that we have an idea of this part of the code corresponds to this part of the web page, and this part is this part. So we want to have like a div tag that just stands for division. That's this whole purpose. And then put things where they belong, so that excuse me, so that we can have a good idea of what each portion of the website corresponds to within the code. And as you can see, I just do Control-Shift, and then it just gets indented very nicely, which is why I love Prettier a lot. And then not only you can have these div tags, and you can also have like a class name for these div tags, so that you can kind of know like what these section of this what this section of the code corresponds to in each section of the website. So something like that. We just want to create a couple of sections for your code. Don't have to worry about like follow along with exactly what I'm doing, because I will mixing a little bit of demonstration with a little bit of actual code. So what I want you to have, right, once you get the divs and spans, you want to create 3 div elements in the body, right, for the main header, biography, and contact info. So let's do that. I want you to have a div for main header and a div for don't have to have it on the second line for now. Yeah, or we don't have to have it on the same line. Don't worry about it. Either way, I want you to have autobiography. And for HTML code, it doesn't matter if it's like this, like this, like this. All those don't make a difference. Okay. All right. So we're gonna have it like that too. And then another div class will be contact info. And you can totally just have ID equals main header, ID equals this. I personally stick to using class unless there's a reason that I'm referring to something very specific in my HTML code when I'm writing JavaScript. Then you really have to use ID to make sure that you're only referring to that exact unique HTML element. Otherwise, I stick to using class just because it's more consistency, I guess. And then function-wise, you can just use dot main header and then refer to it with no issue, right? No, nothing complicated. If it was ID, you can use pom main header and achieve the same thing. But I stick to class for more consistency. All right, so once you have 3 div elements, then you can move on to adding content for the main header section. And this you include at least your name and an image. And you can use your headshot or any image you like. You can use H1 to F5 for heading, or a P and a P, or just using a div for other text. So a div, you can also type things in there and then it'll just show up. So for example, I'll type my name and then it just shows, that's it. I have 3 divs, and because the other 2 divs are empty, right? And as you can see, if there's a line in the middle or nothing in the middle, the div tag behaves the same. There's nothing. And this div tag, because it has my name, it just displays right here, and that's just default text, right? Default font size, default margin padding, all that. So you can use okay, thank you, Lauren. So you can use a H1 for your name, right? So I'm just gonna use an H1 right here. Okay, and also make sure this is okay. And I save this color. I don't need that color for now. I'm just gonna get rid of it. So now if I go back, you can see that it's already updated. That's why live preview is great. Whatever code you write, it updates in real time. And also put it side by side for a second, and you can see if I write any code, I don't know why this keeps right. If I add my middle name, it just shows. The only drawback is that if you type too fast, then it's not gonna respond like perfectly. So if you just add your like text a little bit slowly, then it's gonna react to it, and all the changes are live. And I don't know why this keeps popping up. Anyway, doesn't matter. So once you have like an H1 for like your name, You can also add maybe TCU student, aspiring software engineer, something like that. You can use a P for that, or just write it in a div. It's usually a good idea to have either H1 or P to contain your text and not have your text inside div only. Just because your div, you want to keep it so that its only function is to group HTML elements so that your code is easier to read and just more consistency. Okay, now you can add an image by downloading it and then saving it in the project file using the file explorer, or just dragging and dropping, or you can use an external link. So I already have a headshot on my computer, so I'm just going to I guess open this folder, reviewing file explorer, right? I'm gonna find my headshot right here. Okay, and then well, go back to wherever that was. You can go back here if you want. Whichever place you have that image, you can find it and copy and paste it. Keep it in there, and all lowercase for consistency. And once you have that, you can see you already have that in here, right? So to add your image, like we talked about, you can use an image tag, right? And the source just has to be the image name, pretty much, the JPG. That's it. And then alt, and we also talked about this alt property is for accessibility as well. You just want to give it a very, very brief description of what it is. And it's just my headshot, and that's it. Now you have it, right? But it's very huge. So now we have that, save it. Now we have that, I also want to modify it. So I can either do this image and change it, say the width is gonna be 300 pixels, and it's just gonna get smaller and kind of retain this aspect ratio, right? Maybe smaller, 200, okay, or 250. Oh, 25,000. 250, so seems decent. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep it at that. And now I have my name and image. And then we can just go on and add contents for the biography. So for your image, we can also style it later on with CSS, like rounded corners or something like that, or else it looks too sharp, right, edgy. You can also make it so that your name and image are in the center of the page, or going horizontally, right? Your name right here, your image right here. We can all deal with that later on. Okay. So let me go back to this. So your biography, right? You can just this keeps showing. It's kind of annoying. Translate this page. Let me translate. Okay. All right. So for here, we can just add a paragraph element, right? And then we can look at our website again. And then we can just say, I'm a student at Texas University. I'm interested in web development. Great. And you can definitely add a lot more, whatever you would like. But so far, that's just all I'm gonna add. And for, I guess, what do you call it? Format or style, you can also add an H1 just to denote that this is your biography. Okay. And you can call it about, something like that, whatever you want. So that's it for now for me. You can definitely add a lot more contents for yourself later on. But for now, maybe just something short. and then you want to add your contact info, right? Very simple. You can also add an h1 tag to denote this this section, right? And then underneath that, let's maybe have a phone number, whatever you would like to format it, however you would like. And then you'll have another paragraph. Always use a new paragraph for like a new line of text for your paragraph. Because if you were to do this, it doesn't go to the next line, right? It just ignores that tab because HTML doesn't care about empty spaces and all that. It just ignores it. So you want to have a different p tag for that. Here we go. So that's it. That's the bare minimum that you will need for your personal website. So let me save that. Great. And then like I showed, there's all these. You can also add you can also very simply add your social media handle, especially LinkedIn, right? If you already have one, that would be great. LinkedIn something something. No, you know what I mean. Okay. So if you do want to add a portfolio section, then you can go through these instructions. For now, we will actually skip that because very few of our students have projects for show for now. And later on, when we go through a little bit more about probably by the next assignment, they will learn how to use, I guess, flex boxes to create these cards. So we're just gonna skip that for now. But so far, with these instructions, like we talked about, you use a div tag for all of this stuff, and then you can add your project name and description, and then a link to the project if you already have it. And if you do want to create cards for those, just maybe grab a project card class, right? You denote whatever class that is, and then you make it so that it's display flex, so that it becomes a flex box. And then going through our material of how flex boxes work, including our exercises, you should get a good idea of how to style it, to use properties like justify content to modify it, and also select the correct padding and margin, adding a margin, right? Okay, so next step, we're gonna add some CSS styling. And this is just, I guess, a reminder at this point of how do you add CSS to your HTML elements. So we can skip that for now because we already went through all these basics. So to change the fonts of the heading elements and paragraph elements, okay, we can do all of this. I'm just gonna change it to a pretty basic fonts. Actually, I don't even know what are the defaults available fonts. But I want to keep my h1 tags consistent, so I'm just gonna change it to all the make h1 to be my selector, so it selects all the h1 elements, and then font family. There's a lot of options. What about this? No. What else? How about this? Not too bad, not too bad. What else this is why VS Code is great, because it always recommends, not recommends, gives you all the possible options that you can have for like the actual value for these properties. So this one seems decent enough. I'm just gonna keep it there. And then going back at color, Use the background property in the body of your website to change the background color for the body of your website, because you can actually refer to this body as well, which is an HTML element itself, to just change the background color. So this will help us find help us set the color to the entire body of your web page. So I'm just gonna go here real quick, right? We can pick a color that we like. I personally like blue a lot, so I'm just gonna choose a light blue color. This, okay. Seems a little too much. Only very light, very light. Okay, how about this? Right, that seems fine. So once you have these values that you can use, you can just actually pick one to copy. But first, let's select the body, right? And then you can just do color. There's already all these options that you can pick if you like, pick from any of these. I kind of already picked the color, just like very light blue. So you can copy these and put it there. Then, oh, that's color. Color denotes the text color, right? I guess I kind of forgot that myself. So you actually want background color. There we go. So now your body has this background color, and this is just how the color is represented in this RGB value, which stands for red, green, and blue. This is this much green, this much red, this much green, this much blue makes this color. Or you can also just copy this. This is hex code. With hex code, you can also, if I get rid of this, and with hex code, you can also represent color in a different way. Either way, it's the same, right? So now your personal website has a background color, and then you can style your image, customize the width and height. We already modified the width right there, and you can do opacity or filter. Those are very unnecessary. Your image will be fine just like that, and maybe a border radius, so we can change that. Border radius is just say it's a 10 pixels. It's just to give your image a rounded corner. So it's not entirely essential, but I personally think it makes things look a lot smoother. And by the way, your CSS file, it recognizes and applies all the rules regardless of the order. For example, I can put this down here and it'll be just fine, right? Exactly the same. But I personally want to keep the most kind of keep a hierarchy, right, for your order for all your elements. So say your body, it encompasses everything. So I'm gonna keep it at the top, and then image and HTML, image and H1. H1 refers to more elements, even though they don't have like an encompassing relationship, right? But H1 refers to a lot of things. So I want to make sure that if I want to go back and edit it, I'm just gonna, when I go down from the top, I'll find the H1 rule very quickly. So
how do you move all your code like that at once?
Huh?
Are you just copying your code and moving it, or are you actually like grabbing the code and moving it?
Oh, it's a Control X, right? And then Control X, Control V, just like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in general, for your CSS file, whatever rule you have for the most, like and the element that encompasses all other elements, keep it at the top, your body or your div tag with the class like container or something like that, and then like a generic H1, it will maybe go somewhere on the top so that you can modify it easily if you want to change just the look of all the H1s. And then say your image is there's only one image, so somewhere on the bottom, something like that, just kind of keep a hierarchy for your CSS file. And then there's also these other resources that you can check out later. And then we want to add some layout. right? This is also kind of just a review for box model. You don't necessarily have to watch it, but you could as well to get a refresher. So with the universal selector, I want you to reset the padding, margin, and border width, all of these to 0. And the reason why you want to do this is just so that you will have a very clear control over how you want the padding margin for everything to be and border width, so that your website won't necessarily be interfered. Your layout won't be interfered with all the default values that you didn't expect there to be. You have absolute control over everything. So we can just put that at the top. This is the universal selector. It just selects everything. Adding 0, margin 0, border width 0. Okay. So now you can see. Now it looks like all the little margins that were there, paddings that were there, they're gone, right? And then it's just the bare minimum for everything, like line heights for the H1, things like that. And then I can control slash to comment this out, and then you can see there were some margins that were there by default, and now it's gone. So what we could do is we can add let's see, this is optional. Optional again. I kind of miss explaining that you can just well, doesn't matter. So I kind of miss explaining that you should adjust the margin and padding of everything that you have in here so that you can make it look the way you want, right? So H1, we can give it a padding 10 pixels, or we can use the margin as well of 10 pixels, right? So let me get that back. Padding 10 pixels, margin 10 pixels. So now I can see it just adds on, but when you only have either one, pretty much look the same, right? And that's just how the box model works. The margin padding, keep saying that. Margin padding, it just takes up that much space for that element. So either way, either one you use is fine. So how do you choose which one to use? Me personally, I use margin first, so that when I'm messing around with all the different elements together and making sure they look fine, I don't know, they take up this much space and they're this far away from each other because of the margin instead of the padding, because padding has to do with the actual contents, with inside of, like, say, a div, right? You might have a div that contains a lot of different things, and then they all have their sizes, their contents. The more content you have, the maybe it's bigger. So your padding will actually affect that. But your margin, it won't have to do with anything that's inside. It just have to do with how far it is away from everything else. So the image, we can also give it a margin, say 1 rem. How about that? And 1 rem, this is a unit that I like to use a lot, right? 1 rem, 2 rem. And it just means that for whatever size this thing is denoted, just say you have this inside a div, right? Say if you were to have this inside the div, and then right, explain. This RAM just basically calculates how much space to give it based on the relatives available space, right? So if there's a lot of space available, then it just gives it more space. If there's less space available, then it's just less space. It's just like a relative unit. And then you can also learn more about that with some sections that we had before. I guess the CSS units, or you can just look it up, CSS units. And it'll tell you all about, you know, different units like pixels, even centimeters, milliliters, pixels, points, picas, and all of these different ones. You can experiment with them and see how they work. But for me, a lot of times I like to use 1 RAM, 2 RAM, 3 RAM, just to see, what I like the most, right? So that's about it. And then I also want to give my I think the H1, right? I'm gonna give it a bigger margin to RAM. So as you can see, if I give it a margin, it pushes away from the left, pushes away from the right, right? Because the margin applies to every direction. You can also just use margin top to give it a top margin, but not to the left. And then there's also a different way to denote that. You can give it a 2 RAM, 0, 0, 2 RAM. So now you see it also pushes away from the left a little bit, right? Because this is the way they denote it. If you do it this way, it denotes top value, right value, bottom value, and left value. But it's not necessary to do that. I'm just demonstrating. So give it some margin as well. And then I also want these to have some margin, right, for all the paragraphs. So all the paragraphs, I'm gonna give it a margin of 2 RAM, maybe. Okay. Oh, okay. It's not looking too bad. All right. And it seems like there's a very large margin right here, because there's both a margin of 2 RAM from the H1 and then another 2 RAM from the image. But that's fine for now. So I think I kind of assumed that people would just use their knowledge on the flexboxes to kind of fix it, so that it has a better layout. But I guess I didn't add the instructions for that, so people just kind of like didn't go through that. I guess that was my fault, because this course is beginner friendly, like beginner friendly, right? So I should have added more instructions. But I kind of also what I expected to see was that maybe people will make these into a flex box, right? You can add this into a flex box. For example, I'm gonna have it right here, main header. You make this into a flex box by using display flex. So now you see it behaves differently, right? These elements and this element, they go side by side, because the default behavior for flex boxes is that these elements go in a row, right? Flex direction row. That's something we looked at before when we were doing flexbox Froggy. Now you have these in a row. I like it that way. So how do I get this text to be right somewhere down here, right? So that people can see it and see that it's oh, right. And you also need to give it like a width. Your whole div, you want to give it a width so that it takes up all the space, right? Your personal website doesn't have to only use half the space. You're too humble for that. So let's give it 100%. How about that? Your main header, I want its width to be 100%. So very easily, it should just take up all the available space. Actually, let me think. If we inspect, right, we'll see that it should already take up all the available space. Does it? This, I think this shows that it's not taken up. How about this? The main header, let me give it 100 view width. I think it's taking up all the space available already. So what I kind of want to do is to make this go this way, and then this go down a little bit, and then they kind of take up that layout. And here's a tool that I recommend you guys use to kind of figure out the layout for your web page. Let me see if it's right here. Anyways, I think the tool is called IntelliDraw, right? IntelliDraw. So, oh, that's just my personal stuff. So you have this tool, right? And you can use this tool to kind of lay out your web page, right? Suppose your web page looks something like this, and then you can think, okay, if I were to have a div that is a flexbox right here, how do I go about making them look a certain way? I want my image to be somewhere here, and I want my name to be somewhere here, right? So here's what you can do. Your image and your name, right? They can be two elements within your flexbox. And then for your flexbox, you want it to be display a flex direction in row and make sure it takes up all the space. And then you want to do like justify content, maybe space evenly, or probably space around will work too. And then your elements will take up all the available space, and then give it appropriate spacing around, and then use margin and padding to make sure they're at the correct place. So let's do that. I have main header display flex, and I'm a little bit fuzzy on if I need this. I think I don't, because by default the div should take up all the available space for the web page, I think. So I'm just gonna do justify content space evenly. There we go. Looks a lot better. So if I want this to kind of come down in the middle, I can use align contents, right? Because we talked about align contents, align items. Align items is like justify contents, but in the vertical direction, so that if I do a center, yep, it just goes down there, right? Which is why this is a tool that helps you figure out the layout, because once you use this to draw it out, right, it gives a better idea of how it looks like, and it also gives you a better idea of how the things work relative to each other with multiple flex boxes, especially. So if you have like a project cards, you can kind of have an idea of, okay, what should it kind of look like, and then if there should be a flex direction row or column or justify content in which way. This is a nice tool for it. So once I have that, I want to give it like maybe some more top margin, because I don't have a nav bar or something like that. It looks a little bit too high up there. So I'm just gonna give this a margin top of 2 rem. So 3 rem applied. Oh, wait, I'm not sure why this is not applied. Main header 50 pixel. Not sure why this is not applied. Seems like there should be a margin top. Div main header. There should be a top margin of 50, but it's just not. It's there, but it's not applied. I'm not sure why that's the case. We're not sure why, but what I could do is just give it a higher top margin over here, 2 rem, This is 2 rem all around, but I can give it say 4 rem. Okay, or even more. Okay, not so bad. And then maybe if this is a little bit closer to the right, then I will be more happy. So I'm gonna just modify this so that it has I guess margin to the left a little bit more, right? So to pick this, there's 2 ways to go about it. There are many ways. So you can either select the H1 element and then just give it a margin, but that will actually give all this H1 a margin to the left that I don't want, right? I only want this one. So I can actually select main header H1. This way, all the H1 elements inside this main header will be affected. So let me give it a margin left. So let's say 1 rem, 2 rem. No, I should give it a padding actually, a padding, because when I use space evenly, it already decides and calculates what what margin it should have. Let me just make sure this is applied. 60 pixel padding. I think it looks a little different. Okay. Now I have a left padding. Yes. Now I have a left padding, but the margin is calculated automatically when I use the justify constants. How about a little more? 80. Kind of in the center of this, right? Okay, sounds great. Looks great. All right. So now let's now there's this. I want all of these to kind of be in the center of this, right? So a couple of ways to do that too. Centering a div is like the most basic thing a web developer does. So here's one way to do about this. You can use the margin property to do all of this by doing margin auto. Margin auto. No. Usually what happens when you do a margin auto is that it automatically sets it to have the exact margin so that on the left it's equal space to what's on the right, so that it centers the element. So let me try it again. In the biography, right? Biography section, I'm gonna give it a margin of auto. I think for that I might need to use with 100%. I might be remembering it wrong. Oh yeah, I'm remembering it wrong. That doesn't make sense because this H1 and this P, they by default already take up all of the available space right here. You see, in this whole line. So if I give it a margin on the left, on the right, it just gets overridden because there's no space for margin. It already takes up all the available space. So what I want to do is actually not using that. I want to do I think text align center. There we go. Right now we have that. So no, like I just demonstrated, it's very common that you kind of forget what certain CSS properties do. And what you can always do is just search up how to center a div, how to center maybe a text in CSS. And then there's always many different ways to go about it. Text align is a very basic way. Probably the most common way, but a lot of times you were with your H1 element, your P tag, you probably don't want them to always take up the 100% of whatever space there is. Maybe you just want them to be a certain width, right? So that you can have other things on the side, But once you have other things on the side, you kind of really have to adjust what margin it is, what width it is, so that it can be centered. So depending on the situation, there's different ways to do it. And then we can just do the same thing for the contact info. And I just did a Control-C, Control-V right there, right? And then maybe I want to give it some more margin between these two sections. So I want to give it margin top about 5 rand. No, 50 pixels. Okay, still not very much. I feel like there's way too much margin between these two and these two. I think because of the image and this about section. So I'm also gonna change that. Okay, it doesn't need to be so much margin right here. And then okay, just about section. Basically, that's pretty much what you need for the for the assignment. Very, very basic. If you have finished all of these, you're pretty much good. For me, I actually wanna change it some more. I'm not even sure what I want to do. I think I want to have like a more consistent spacing, right? Right now I'm looking at my main header, and then about it showing, I'm gonna scroll down to see the contact me. I want to only look at the main header first, and then scroll down to see about, and then contact me. So what I could do is this. I'm gonna go into the main header and give it a height. Height is 100 VH, right? So 100 VH, that stands for 100% of the view height, which is just whatever available space there is, whatever height there is for this space in the browser. So right now I'll be only looking at this, right? This is what you will see popping up going into your personal website. I think it looks kind of nice that you are only looking at me and then your name, and then you go down to learn more about me, right? So it's cool. And then this about section, since there's already that much space because this other section is so large, I'll just give it more space right here. So let me make sure this name is correct. Biography, contact info, okay. So let me give a much larger margin right here. About 5 rand. Okay, 5 rand is not very large. And kind of there, right? And then contact info, I have 10 rand of the margin, right? And this applies to every direction besides left and right because it's already decided by other default settings because we have text align. But on the margin bottom, I want to give it some more margin. And here's what you can do. If you have a top, if you only have one value here, actually, I can just do a margin bottom, right? A margin bottom, and that'll give it a margin on the bottom, right? But I wanted to showcase is this. You could do margin only, and then I want to give it 4 values so that it denotes top, right, bottom, left, clockwise. Top is this. This is on the right. I don't need any. Top, right, bottom. I want to give it a 5 rand, and then left 0. Okay, so you kind of have a little reasonable space right here, right, for a contact me section. And then let me give this section also a little background, right? How about this? Contact me. And then, oh, I guess because I use the margin, this exact div only takes up this much space and then pushes out, this far. But I can actually use padding, right? So that it actually has that much space. But now because I have all this padding and it's too much blue up there, right? You want to have like a summer here, and then you still want to have maybe not much distance, but I don't want all this blue. So you gotta have a mix of both, right? Let me give it 5 RAM right here. Okay, and then I'm gonna give it a margin top, 5 RAM. Okay. Let me look at it side by side. 5 RAM, maybe some more. Okay. All right. So very, very basic personal website. You can definitely add a lot more content to it if you want. And I think that's about it. Okay, very, very basic. And if you have a portfolio section that you want to add, you can just add it after like biography and then before contact me, right? And then that's about it. So what I was expecting is just for people to kind of like, try out using a Flexbox for maybe like this, right? Or any other, if you're adding a portfolio section. Besides that, everything you can just use text align to just kind of lay out, have it in the center, something like that. Or margin and padding will take care of the job. Yeah, right. So after that, once you're happy with the look of your personal website, then your project is complete. So I think I will update these assignment instructions a little bit to reflect what I just did better. So now that your personal website is pretty much done, just like that, with your stuff, you're welcome to add experiences and all that, so that it's a little bit more robust. You can commit and push to GitHub. So there's all these instructions. This is video that shows you how to do it, and this video is made by my friend Guillermo Sanchez. We both worked for CodePath for a long time. The video from 5 minutes 40 seconds to 7 minutes shows you how to do it, but I can show you right here. You have all these addition, right, including just simply adding an image. You can just commit this so that the changes will be reflected on the GitHub repository that you created earlier. For me, it's gonna be this one, right? Now that it's empty, even though I have all this file right here, because it hasn't been pushed to GitHub. So to push it to GitHub and save all your changes over here and reflect it and be able to deploy it, you must commit. And for a summary, you can just write, this is my initial commit. And this is also a little bit of a convention because you don't necessarily have like a description for what you did, just very basic stuff. Just initial commit is what you can use. Commit to main and push origin. And that's it. Just with a few clicks of a button, you can use GitHub Desktop to take care of all this stuff instead of having to use command prompt or terminal for that. If you don't know what command prompt and terminal are, good for you. You don't have to know. So now you can see all the things are there. You can see your code, right?
So how do you get there again?
Sorry?
How do you get there again?
How do you get to your repo?
To be able to submit it or to push it?
So when you look at your GitHub desktop, right? Okay, do you want to share a screen?
Sure. Right here.
Right. So you just, in the summary, you can type initial commit. And also one thing for, I guess, convention as well, there's probably good reasons, but for your files, you actually don't want to have spaces in there. So you can just keep it very basic, like your picture of me. I would change it to
That's
picture.
just the one I found. I didn't make it.
That's cool. I'm just talking about the naming, right?
Yeah, okay.
You can probably rename it to picture or image, something very simple, very basic. Because a lot of times when you have like a path for some of your files, when you have spaces, it messes things up. So
All right.
if you wanna rename that image to like just image .jpg, it'll be a little better. So just rename that real quick. And then once you rename that, you can just commit. Your commit summary will be initial commit.
All right. And then, yeah, I go here, initial commit. Do I just click? Oh, here.
Commit to main. And then push origin. And then you can go back to your repository and see all the changes.
Here?
Go to Chrome. Go to the GitHub. You can just go to type github.com and then you can go to your repository.
Here.
There we go. And you should be able to see everything there. Great. And then we can go into your, oh, you just took that just now. did you take that picture?
I took it like a week ago for something else.
Cool. All right. So let's go back to our styling instructions so that we can see how to deploy it. Okay. Once your project is pushed, you can get ready to deploy it. So there's these instructions right here. You go to settings, right? Settings right here, and then find the source section in the GitHub Pages section. So it's just going to be pages right here, deploy from a branch. So it's actually very, you don't have to change this. It's actually a very nice thing that GitHub does for you. Select main and save, right? And then that's it. Your GitHub Pages site is currently being built from the main branch. So it's just going to take a couple of minutes, and then your site will be available with a given link. You will give it the link that you can use to just navigate to see what your personal website looks like. And then from there, I want you to copy that link and to go and that's it. To go and edit your README file, right? Since you have a README file right here in your repository, I want you to change it and to just make it say simple personal website build with HTML and CSS, right? And then if you have a link right there, you can just add a link, or you can do like a deploy page and then add the link right here. And if you use this syntax, whatever link you add will just display with the text display on deploy page, right? That's www. You get the idea. So just add the link right here. And you can add a text right here with inside the bracket, and then your link would just go there. So, oh, there we go. It's already available. So you can open that up. Now you can see, oh, what's going on? Why is it different from what I'm seeing? What? Let me check. Okay, so I have background color on the contact info section. It's not added there. But the contact, oh my god, I never saved it. So now I saved it. Now it's gonna reflect all these changes. I'm just gonna by default, the summary is update style.css. So I can push that again, and then it should reflect properly. And not right away, because it always takes time to update. So if make sure to save your stuff, because live preview will update the web page for you when you preview it without saving. So make sure you save your stuff. And once you have this link, copy link address and put it here, commit changes, and there you go. Now you have it. You're all done. And then you can just submit your assignment with this form, kind of how many hours it took. For us, it was about an hour and a half, because I also was, demonstrating. And if you are still not quite happy with your personal website, you can add more, right, experiences and all that. You're welcome to add more stuff before you go and submit it, And I think, Riley, do you want to share your screen so that we can look at your website again, and then maybe we can go over how to fix up some layout stuff?
Sure. Yeah, it was kind of buggy, but I was gonna figure it out later. Okay. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How about you actually like a preview in an external browser too?
I think that's like. There we go.
Okay, great. So it looks like you put everything in the Flexbox, right?
Yes. I think. I don't know.
Right. So I guess let me get remote control real quick. Okay, so let's look into your style.css. You have a Flexbox that's right here, the main header, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your main header actually what is this? Why is it red?
It wasn't red earlier.
Oh, it's because you're missing this.
Oh.
Right?
Okay, I must have when I changed the image.
Now we're good, right? So red is never good. If your code is somehow red or there's red anywhere, it's probably trying to tell you something. So let's look at your website. Yours is just like mine. Looking nice, looking nice.
All right.
So if you're happy with this, you're welcome to commit and push. But if you would like I say, you can also add a navbar, which is just a div called navbar, and then you're gonna have many a tags in there, right? A tags, and then your a tags, their href needs to be pong biography, pong main header, pong contact info, and then you want to use margin and padding. Not margin and padding. You want to put it all inside a Flexbox so that they all take up that amount of space, evenly distributed if you use justify content, right? If you want, you can do all that, and then going through the material, you eventually figure out how to do it, and that's kind of like where I want you guys to maybe Google or just figure out how to do things, because that's a big part of learning, right? You want to do something, you don't know how to do it, so you just go and find out. So you can just leave that. If you want, you can commit and push and then deploy your website. But it's up to you if you want to do it right now.
All right.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions, they can, sorry?
Will you be uploading this video so we can refer back to it?
Yeah. All of our stuff will be recorded and uploaded.
Okay.
Yep. So if you're happy with your website, you can just, like I did, commit, push, and deploy. Very simple. And then update your repository README file. And that should be it. And then when you're submitting your assignments, use the form. Use the assignment submission form, your name, assignment, it's going to be personal website, and then add the link to either the repository or just directly to your deploy page, right? And then just let me know how many hours you spend on it, so that I don't want people to spend too much time somebody say they spend 12 hours on these. So I was like, ooh, that's not good. I don't think anybody would have 12 hours to spend on a personal website as they are doing college coursework. It's not very nice. Okay, so once you submit your assignment, I want you to find a partner. If you don't have like a partner, just just don't worry too much about it. You can just let me know if you don't find a partner to grade each other's assignment. But if you can, I want you to find a partner to just grade each other's assignment and just give some feedback and say your website looks nice. I like your background color, or maybe you can have some more padding here and there so that it's even or whatever. Just share maybe one great thing about the website and one potential area of improvement so that we can always strive to be better. Okay. All right. It was about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes for our meeting today. Again, do you guys have any questions about anything at all?
How do you commit again after? Because I've already pushed it, but if I want to change how it is on the actual website, how do I change it to the newer version?
So share your screen again for me. Okay, so go to the changes tab right here on the top left. It seems like you already have committed and pushed again, right?
No, I just did it for the first try. The one earlier that doesn't work. It looks like it did earlier, I think, on the actual website.
Okay, so how about let's go into your repository and check your code, because there is something wrong with your code. Go to GitHub.
Oh, the actual GitHub?
Yeah, your repository.
All right.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah. So go to index.html.
Well, here it's missing the bracket again.
Right. So you let me get remote control. You wanna right, fix that, and if you already fixed that,
I did. It's fixed here.
It's fixed. It's fixed here, right?
Yes.
It looks fine here, and then your changes should at least reflect. No. If did you push again?
I did not. I don't know how to do it. It didn't like turn blue this time. I don't know.
Okay. That was 12 minutes ago. That was the first time you pushed. That. Open the repository page on the browser. Well, that's very strange. I don't know. You should commit. That's just the first thing, first setup, and then you committed this without that. So I don't know why. Oh, I think you haven't saved it.
Oh,
there we go. Now you got it.
okay, so it does it automatically.
Right, like I just said, that was the exact same situation as me. I don't know why my changes weren't reflecting. It's just because I forgot to save it and then commit it without saving.
Right.
So if you commit this and push, it should just reflect the changes.
Okay.
Right.
So it'll keep updating as I change the code. It'll change in GitHub.
As you push new contents, it will reflect on your GitHub pages.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Kayla and Juliet, did you guys want to share screen, and then we can look at your layout maybe, and then if you have any issues, maybe we can work together.
I think mine is okay for now.
Okay. And Juliet, are you happy with your personal website?
I'm still like in the first step, so
Okay.
I'll update tomorrow for the meeting.
No, for sure, for sure. Okay. So if you have any questions, remember we have our Slack workspace for you to just come in and ask questions, and then ask any questions, either it's technical or not, in the help channel, and say my CSS is not working. Maybe add a screenshot of whatever you want, that whatever you're working on, and then say maybe in the description what's your problem, right? Maybe my my HTML elements don't change when I CSS, something like that, and then add a screenshots, and then add a screenshot of your code as well, your HTML code, CSS code, so that I can see what might be the issue, and then that's it. You can just get help in the help channel. Maybe other people want to help you too, because debugging is a really great way to learn to be a better programmer, get debugging skills, and then maybe avoid making new mistakes too. So that's it. Thank you very much for joining us. And then if you're still working on your personal website, happy coding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.